Orthotic treatment in case of weak plantar flexors. This video is designed to present the latest state-of-the-art orthotic treatments in case of weak plantar flexors, also known as calf muscles. The video consists of 3 main chapters. Chapter 1. Compensating for weak plantar flexors when standing. Chapter 2. Compensating for weak plantar flexors when walking. And Chapter 3. Problems of traditional treatments that do not reflect the latest state of the art. Chapter 1.1. Secure stance due to healthy plantar flexors. When standing, the plantar flexors help maintain the body's center of gravity above the feet. The ground reaction force counteracts the gravity force. The forefoot lever describes the area located between the ankle's pivot point and the rolling off line. The forefoot lever forms the supportive area on the ground. The body's center of gravity can be safely moved back and forth above this area. To this end, the force of the plantar flexors activates the forefoot lever. The more the body is tilted forward, the higher the torque on the ankle joint. Accordingly, the force of the plantar flexors, required to counteract the ground reaction force, increases. The strong plantar flexors maintain the body in a stable equilibrium, as long as the body's center of gravity stays above the supportive area. Chapter 1.2. Insecure stance due to weak plantar flexors. Weak plantar flexors cause a very insecure stance. In case of complete paralysis of the plantar flexors, the forefoot lever is not activated. Consequently, there is no supportive area. The weight can't be shifted forward. As a result, the body can only be held in an unstable and unphysiological position, balanced exactly above the pivot point of the ankle joint. Shifting the body weight forward would lead to a fall. Only healthy plantar flexors can activate the forefoot lever, in order to utilize the full supportive area, thereby allowing to shift the body's center of gravity forward. The weaker the muscle strength, the less the forefoot lever can be activated by the force of the muscle. The weaker the muscle strength, the smaller the supportive area. If only the plantar flexors in one leg are weak, the patient is able to stand, but tends to hyperextend the weaker leg. This creates a pathological knee joint angle, which improves standing stability, but over time permanently stretches the ligaments in the knee, leading to health problems. Chapter 1.3. Secure stance due to the correct ankle-foot orthosis. In case of weak plantar flexors, an orthosis should be custom-made, and include the following 3 functional elements. 1. Foot piece that is rigid in the supportive area. 2. Rigid anterior shell in front of the shin. 3. Mechanical system ankle joint with dorsiflexion stop. The rigid foot piece transfers the ground reaction force to the system ankle joint. The rigid anterior shell transfers the force from the tibia to the system ankle joint. The system ankle joint creates a connection between the foot piece and the anterior shell. When leaning forward, forces from the foot piece and anterior shell are transferred to the dorsiflexion stop, which activates the forefoot lever. Ideally, the system ankle joint should be equipped with a dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a precompressed spring unit, for example the Neuro Swing Classic system ankle joint. For a natural stance, the ankle-foot orthosis, AFO for short, should be adjusted to a forward inclination of the lower leg of about 8 degrees. At 8 degrees, the body's center of gravity is maintained above the middle of the supportive area, which is the most stable position. Therefore, the AFO must be perfectly aligned. An AFO with an adjustable system ankle joint can help create a perfect alignment. With an efficient AFO with the correct system ankle joint, a safe stance is possible even in case of complete paralysis of the plantar flexors. In addition, the hands are no longer needed to hold medical aids, such as crutches or walkers, and can be used freely. Chapter 1.4. Different types of dorsiflexion stops. Reminder: an efficient AFO consists of a rigid foot piece, a rigid anterior shell, and a mechanical ankle joint with dorsiflexion stop. When leaning against the anterior shell, the dorsiflexion stop activates the forefoot lever, counteracting the ground reaction force. This creates a resistance, which enables a secure stance. The resistance created by a dorsiflexion stop is equivalent to a force acting on the tibia. This force enables a secure stance. There are different types of dorsiflexion stops. Static dorsiflexion stop, dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a regular spring, and dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a pre-compressed spring unit. These dorsiflexion stops differ in how their resistance force manifests when leaning forward. Some are better than the others. An FIOR with a static dorsiflexion stop is the most basic option. An FIOR with a static dorsiflexion stop only enables a range of motion of the ankle joint up to a preset angle. It is not considered a state-of-the-art treatment, because the total range of motion of the ankle joint is limited. The range of motion in this case only allows a plantar flexion to the preset angle of 8 degrees. An FIOR with a static dorsiflexion stop is not the optimal solution. Another option is an FIOR with a dynamic dorsiflexion stop using a regular spring. Compared to the static dorsiflexion stop, it allows for a greater range of motion of the ankle joint. This enables a more natural gait. However, it is also not a state-of-the-art treatment, because, in most cases, regular springs used in a dynamic dorsiflexion stop are too weak to ensure a secure stance. A stronger spring unit would be needed for a secure stance. Even if a regular spring is strong enough to ensure a safe stance, there are still negative consequences. These are expressed in the fact that the spring force of a spring which is strong enough applies constant pressure to the lower leg, which forces the knee backwards when standing still, at an optimal shin inclination angle of 8 degrees. Consequently, the knee is pushed into hyperextension. An FIOR with a dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a regular spring of any strength is not the optimal solution. The best option is a system ankle joint with a dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a pre-compressed spring unit, such as the Neuro Swing Classic. This solution has numerous advantages. A pre-compressed spring unit that can be strong enough to counteract the body weight can be used. This allows for a stable stance, without muscle fatigue. A pre-compressed spring unit minimizes the risk of hyperextension of the knee. In addition, a wider range of motion of the ankle joint is achieved, which helps promote a natural gait, and can counteract muscle fatigue. An FIOR with a dynamic dorsiflexion stop using a pre-compressed spring unit is the optimal solution. Chapter 1.5. Function of an FIOR with a Neuro Swing Classic System Ankle Joint. When standing with an FIOR with a Neuro Swing Classic System Ankle Joint, its dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a pre-compressed spring unit activates the natural forefoot lever, and fully counteracts the ground reaction force. This helps to maintain the body's center of gravity in a stable balance, ideally above the middle of the supportive area. The use of the precompressed spring unit ensures a secure stance, while maintaining a physiological knee joint angle, without unwanted additional pressure to the lower leg, and hyperextension of the knee. This allows the body to move forward above the supportive area. The Neuro Swing Classic is equipped with interchangeable precompressed spring units with different spring forces. With the Neuro Swing Classic system ankle joint, the resistance can be adjusted through interchangeable precompressed spring units, in a way that allows standing in a stable balance, without additional walking aids. The angle at which the spring unit starts providing its specific resistance can be easily adjusted by a single screw. The spring force of the chosen spring unit will not be changed by adjusting the angle. This allows for the most stable position, to ensure a secure stance. Chapter 2.1. Physiological gait due to healthy plantar flexors. When standing, the plantar flexors keep the body's center of gravity over the forefoot. This leads to a physiological knee joint angle of about 0 to 5 degrees. When walking, the heel starts rising up in terminal stance, as the fully functioning plantar flexors are strong enough to lift the body weight. This lift reduces the downward motion of the body, ahead of initial contact of the other leg. This is important for a smooth and energy-efficient gait. During mid-stance, the plantar flexors stabilize the ankle joint, and help maintain a physiological knee joint angle of 0 to 5 degrees. Chapter 2.2. Pathological gait due to weak plantar flexors. When standing, weak plantar flexors fail to activate the forefoot lever. As a compensation mechanism for the lack of stability, a hyperextension of the knee develops. Hyperextension damages the ligaments in the knee over time, which results in an increasingly bad knee joint angle during stance phase. Weak plantar flexors can't activate the forefoot lever starting in terminal stance. During stance phase, weak plantar flexors fail to stabilize the ankle joint. As a compensation mechanism for the lack of stability, a hyperextension of the knee develops. Chapter 2.3. Comparison of a physiological gait and a pathological gait due to weak plantar flexors. Chapter 2.4. Comparison of a pathological gait due to weak plantar flexors, and a physiological gait due to the correct orthosis. Custom-made AFO, with a mechanical system ankle joint, using a dynamic dorsiflexion stop with a pre-compressed spring unit. When standing, weak plantar flexors fail to activate the forefoot lever. This leads to an unstable stance and hyperextension of the knee. An AFO with a neuro-swing classic system ankle joint activates the forefoot lever, enabling a secure stance and restoring a physiological knee joint angle of 0 to 5 degrees. During terminal stance, weak plantar flexors cannot activate the forefoot lever to counteract the ground reaction force. As a result, the heel is not lifted. The spring unit in the neuro-swing classic system ankle joint is strong enough to lift the heel. In terminal stance, weak plantar flexors cannot lift the body weight, which results in an unsteady and inefficient gait. The difference is most apparent when focusing on the heel during terminal stance. Since the spring unit of the neuro-swing classic system ankle joint is strong enough to lift the body weight, a smooth gait is restored. In addition to a missing heel lift, another sign of an inefficient gait due to weak plantar flexors is a higher than normal knee angle of the opposite leg in loading response. Since an AFO with a neuro-swing classic system ankle joint restores a smooth gait, a physiological knee joint angle of the opposite leg during loading response is also restored. During the stance phases, weak plantar flexors fail to stabilize the ankle joint. This leads to a hyperextension of the knee. An AFO with a neuro-swing classic system ankle joint restores physiological knee joint angle of 0 to 5 degrees in mid-stance. Chapter 3.1. Inadequate types of AFOs to use, in case of weak plantar flexors. In case of weak plantar flexors, an AFO is not optimal in the following cases. If there is no dorsiflexion stop, because the forefoot lever can't be activated. The AFO can't create any supportive area. With this wrongly prescribed type of AFO, the body's center of gravity can only be held in an unstable and unphysiological position, balanced exactly above the pivot point of the system ankle joint. A forward shift of the body weight would lead to a fall. If it is designed with a posterior shell and a plantar flexion stop, because it encourages the user to hyperextend the knee even more against the resistance, to stabilize the knee in order to achieve a secure stance. SAFO, or a solid ankle-foot orthosis. A SAFO is not a state-of-the-art treatment. Due to its rigid design, it activates the forefoot lever and creates a supportive area. However, it blocks the dynamic of the ankle joint. A forward shift of the body weight results in the lift of the heel and an unstable stance. PL SAFO, or a posterior leaf spring AFO. A PL SAFO is supposed to emulate the mechanical ankle joint by bending. However, the area bent does not coincide with the ankle joint. When leaning forward while standing or walking, the AFO deforms so that the position of the foot and upper shell must shift. The posterior leaf spring must be flexible enough to allow it to be bent, to lean forward and backward to a certain extent. If it is too flexible, standing with such an AFO becomes insecure. If it is rigid enough to ensure a secure stance, it usually restricts the ankle motion in the direction of plantar flexion, which inhibits a natural gait. If it is preloaded to reach a high resistance for a secure stance, and a physiological dynamic at the same time, it creates unwanted pressure in the direction of knee extension while standing, and may cause hyperextension of the knee. Chapter 3.2. Problems of conventional aids, such as crutches or walkers. Unfortunately, the use of crutches or walkers is still recommended and prescribed far too often, while the disadvantages of these conventional medical devices, and the advantages of using a state-of-the-art orthosis as an option of treatment, are not yet sufficiently known. Placing the crutches further away from the body compensates for the missing effect of the forefoot lever, thus improving stability in stance. Pushing the walker further away also compensates for the missing effect of forefoot lever, thus improving stability in stance. When taking off the hands from the walking aid to perform daily activities, there is a high risk of falling. Therefore, the use of the hands is very limited for everyday activities. Walking aids require the use of the arms and upper body. This can lead to problems in arms, shoulders, and back. Conclusion. In case of weak or completely paralyzed plantar flexors, the optimal treatment is a custom-made ankle-foot orthosis with a mechanical ankle joint with a dorsiflexion stop. The best option is a system ankle joint using a dynamic dorsiflexion stop with precompressed, spring unit, such as the Neuro Swing Classic system ankle joint. Such an AFO allows for a secure stance. When walking, a wider range of motion of the ankle joint restores a physiological gait, and can help maintain the strength of healthy muscles. It also prevents a hyperextension of the knee. A properly designed AFO that has all essential attributes described in this video can completely replace traditional walking aids, such as crutches and walkers, while providing a secure and hands-free stance and gait. Depending on the muscle strength and whether other muscle groups are affected by paralysis, a different type of orthosis with other system joints may be appropriate. In case of weak plantar flexors as well as dorsiflexors, the same AFO with a neuro swing system ankle joint is the right choice. Use our orthosis configurator to find the optimal orthosis with a system joint in the appropriate system width, as well as all the necessary components and materials. Visit orthosis-configurator.com.